You said I was irrelevant, so why is your whole personality built around hating me? That one line is enough to wreck the entire table they gossip at. They swore they were done with you, but everything they do, everything they post, everything they whisper in corners is still about you. They claimed you were forgettable, but your name won't leave their conversations. That's not peace. That's obsession in disguise. And here's the gut punch. They don't even like each other. The only thing keeping them in that little group is the shared hobby of tearing you down. If you removed your name from the discussion, they'd have nothing left to talk about. They laughed when you were quiet. They rolled their eyes when you walked away. They thought you bowed out. They thought you lost. But what they didn't know is that your silence wasn't surrender. It was strategy. Because while they were running their mouths, you were rebuilding. While they were spreading your name in filth, you were reclaiming your peace in private. While they were pointing fingers, you were leveling up, one unbothered day at a time. And now they're panicking, because they can't recognize the version of you that rose from the damage they swore would destroy you. And hey, chosen one, pause right here. If this is speaking directly to your soul, hit that like button and subscribe. Not for me, for the energy, for the truth, for every chosen one who stayed quiet and focused while the world lied on their name. Let's make this message too powerful to be ignored. Now back to it. The truth is, they needed you broken. You healing ruined their narrative. You growing ruined their ego. And you walking away without needing closure ruined their illusion of power. They weren't ready for this version of you. The version that no longer explains, no longer reacts, no longer cares what they think. The version that doesn't need a seat at their table because you built your own, and theirs looks cheap in comparison. That version of you became their trigger. Let's talk science for a second. Behavioral psychology shows that people gossip to relieve anxiety, insecurity, and fear. It's how the weak feel strong, by shrinking someone else. So when they keep your name in their mouth, what they're really saying is, you still have power over me. And you do, because you're no longer entertaining their chaos. And control is always lost when attention is removed. You stopped feeding their ego. You stopped replying to the shade. You stopped breaking just because they wanted you to. And now look, they're starving. They're starving for a reaction, starving for proof that they still matter to you, starving for the access they used to take for granted. They used to get updates on your life from your lips. Now they get it from strangers who admire you more than they ever did. You pulled back your energy, and suddenly the room felt colder. Not because you changed, but because you were the warmth. Now they feel the absence. Now they know what your presence was really worth, and it's killing them. Quietly, slowly, daily. They're checking your page before they check the clock in the morning, watching your every post, trying to convince themselves you're faking the glow. They tell others you're not all that, but keep comparing themselves to you behind the scenes. Because deep down, they know this version of you. You didn't fake it. You earned it. You went through hell and didn't fold. You lost people you thought you'd die without. You buried old versions of yourself with your own bare hands. And now you walk with peace, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. They don't know your nights. They don't know how many times you had to hype yourself up when no one was clapping. They don't know how many tears you dried alone. But they see the glow, and now they want the story, without the scars. Too late. That part of you, the open, forgiving, too patient version, that person doesn't exist anymore. They mistook kindness for weakness, and now they get nothing but the echo of your boundaries. Let them watch, let them talk, let them create their versions of your story. You don't need to clear your name in places you never belonged in. Your results speak. Your peace speaks. Your silence screams, and every time they speak on you, they just prove one thing. They lost something rare, something pure, something they'll never get back. You are the hot topic because you are the threat. Not the aggressive kind, not the loud kind, but the kind of threat that exposes people's lack of growth just by standing in the room. You didn't become better to get revenge. You became better because your spirit demanded it. You cleaned your heart, focused your mind, and now you carry yourself like royalty. And they feel that. They feel it in their chest. Every room you step into feels different now because you bring an energy they can't fake, copy, or destroy. This isn't just a comeback, this is closure. And you don't need their apology. You don't need their respect. You are the walking reminder that they fumbled someone unforgettable, so let them talk. Let them rotate your name through their group chats like it's a prayer, because every time they speak on you, they speak your greatness into the universe. You were never meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to be unforgettable, and now they know exactly why. And listen closely. Chosen one? Yeah, you. The one they can't stop mentioning, stalking, or mimicking. If your name's been flying around in places you never walked into, this next part is going to hit like a memory. We're about to break down exactly why you're the fire they can't put out, and how to flip this attention into even more power. Drop the number 777 in the comments if you're done hiding and ready to own your role as the main character. Let them talk. You're about to give them something real to talk about. And now, let's crack it open step by step. But fair warning, only the real ones will make it to the end, because it's not just facts we're dropping, it's closure, it's revelation, it's transformation. If your spirit's been pulling you here, trust it. Let's begin. Number 1, you didn't ruin their peace. You just exposed it was never real. They don't hate you because you did something to them. They hate you because being around you forces them to admit they've been lying to themselves. You didn't destroy anything. You didn't attack. You didn't call anyone out or even say their name. All you did was show up, real, honest, unmasked, and that alone cracked the surface of the fake peace they spent their whole lives building. You didn't ruin their confidence. You just revealed it was never solid. You didn't cause their jealousy. You exposed how deep it runs. They've spent years pretending to be okay, smiling when they were empty, acting confident while rotting with insecurity, building up a personality based on filters, borrowed opinions, fake strength. Then you walked in, not loud, not attention-seeking, just real, just present, just you, and your presence was too loud for their silence to ignore. You triggered every shadow they never dealt with, and now they say you're too much, too intense, too full of yourself. But let's be honest, if you were weak, if you were fake, if you were broken like them, they'd be fine. They'd clap, they'd feel safe. But you standing tall, you being unbothered, that's what makes them feel small. That's what makes them act like victims, while you're the one who was always alone in the fight. You didn't even ask to be a mirror, but you became one. Your energy reflected back everything they tried to suppress, their jealousy, their laziness, their lack of healing. You showed them what peace actually looks like, and that burned their eyes, because it reminded them that their healing journey was all performance, that their glow-up was surface level, that their whole "I'm doing me now" era was just a coping strategy with a filter on top. You triggered their shadow self, the one they hide behind trends and trauma dumping, and instead of facing it, they turned on you. They talked, they gossiped, they created versions of you that they could destroy, because they couldn't handle the real version they could never be. That's why they hate in silence. That's why they watch your stories like it's a ritual. That's why they keep your name alive in rooms where your presence would silence all of them. And don't get it twisted, they won't say it to your face. They'll play it cool, act unbothered, crack a fake smile when they see you. But behind closed doors, you're a problem they can't fix. You're a wound they keep scratching. You're a reminder that no matter how loud they bark, they'll never move like you do. Let's take it deeper. There are people who build their self-worth by standing next to broken people. They feed off pity. They like being the strongest one in the room, not because they're truly strong, but because everyone else is too wounded to challenge them. Then you walked in, strong, silent, focused, and suddenly they weren't the alpha anymore. Suddenly they felt the pressure of real energy, not arrogance, not ego, just calm, grounded, unshakable presence. You didn't need to be the center, but you were. You didn't raise your voice, but they heard you. You didn't beg to be noticed, but they couldn't look away. That's what made you the threat. You were never looking for attention, but attention followed you anyway. Because real power doesn't shout, it radiates. And when fake energy comes near real power, it either transforms or self-destructs. Most people chose the second option. Instead of growing, they chose to gossip. Instead of healing, they chose to hate. Instead of leveling up, they decided to drag you down so they wouldn't have to rise on their own. It's psychological. The shadow self can't survive in the presence of someone who's done the work. It panics, it lashes out, and the easiest target is the one who holds the light. That's you. You became a flashlight on their darkness just by existing, and they hate that you never needed to dim just to keep their comfort alive. Let's get even more real. You might be asking yourself, why do I attract so much hate just by being quiet? Why does my peace feel like a threat? Because it is. Not everyone wants to grow. Not everyone wants peace. Some people thrive in drama. Some people feed on chaos. And when you walk in, healed and whole, they can't hide behind noise anymore. Your presence exposes the emptiness in their spirit. That's why your silence sounds like an earthquake to them. You didn't try to be better than them. You just refused to stay broken with them. That's your crime. You chose to rise. You chose to grow when they stayed the same. You chose to evolve while they recycled the same toxic patterns in prettier packaging. You're not the villain. You're just the proof that they gave up on themselves. Every time they talk about you, what they're really doing is grieving the version of themselves they never became. And this is your reminder. Don't shrink to make them comfortable. Don't dim just to blend in. You paid for this peace with pain they never saw. You earned this energy by bleeding in silence. And if your light makes them uncomfortable, they can either step into it or step out of the room. You're not adjusting the brightness anymore. So next time you feel that sting of betrayal, next time you hear their talking again, next time you notice those fake smiles and strange tension in the air, remember this: they're not mad at you. They're mad they couldn't destroy you. They're mad you didn't need their apology to move on. They're mad they can't unsee your growth. And most of all, they're mad that deep down, you were never the one who was broken. They were. You're not triggering them on purpose. You're just living in truth. And truth doesn't need permission to shine. Let them deal with their shadows. You've already made peace with yours. That's what separates you. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you the hot topic, even in your absence. And that's why they talk. Because they can't do what you did. Because they can't face who you are. Because they can't stand the silence you left behind. Because it's louder than all their noise combined. So keep walking. You are not their wound to fix. You are the light they'll never outrun. Number 1. You're the walking reminder that their excuses are useless now. You didn't have more than them. You just refused to stay where they left you. Your survival destroyed their favorite excuse that it couldn't be done. They called it luck because calling it hard work would expose how little they tried. You didn't get lucky. You got up again and again when they stayed down and called it fate. Let's make something brutally clear. Your existence offends people, not because you harmed them, not because you lied, cheated, or stepped over anyone, but because you did it anyway, despite the setbacks, despite the lack of support, despite starting with less than what most people take for granted. You found a way to rise when everyone else just found more reasons to sit still. You're not just a person in their story anymore, you're a crack in the wall they built around their mediocrity, a walking reminder that discipline hits harder than privilege, that hunger beats entitlement, that pain can either be your anchor or your fuel, and you chose to burn. Imagine this. A person sitting comfortably on the couch, telling themselves they'll start tomorrow. They've got the vision board, the affirmations, the endless list of reasons why things didn't happen yet. Then you walk by, quiet, focused, already building. You didn't complain about the storm. You learned how to walk in the rain. Suddenly, their comfort feels like cowardice. Suddenly, your movement makes their stillness uncomfortable, and now they don't hate the grind. They hate the fact that you made it look possible. That's what you are to them now. Proof. Proof that their story could have gone another way. Proof that their can't was always just a choice disguised as a limitation. You showed them that it wasn't the lack of money, opportunity, or help holding them back. It was their mindset. You were the glitch in their matrix, the variable they never expected, the one who didn't follow the formula and still beat the odds. They need their excuses to stay alive because excuses are safe. Excuses sound deep. They gather sympathy. They buy time. But then someone like you shows up and ruins the whole script. You didn't have connections. You weren't born into a perfect setup. You didn't get a head start. What you had was pain, pressure, and problems, and you turned them into power. You took losses that should have broken you and used them as bricks. You didn't let wounds become walls. You built with what should have buried you. And now they say you got lucky. Of course they do. Luck is easier to digest than effort. It's easier to believe that you cheated than to accept that you stayed consistent while they quit after day 3. Because if your success came from effort, that means their failure came from avoidance. And they're not ready to accept that. So they create a new narrative, one where you had help, one where you had it easier, one where your pain was less painful than theirs. It's not about truth, it's about comfort. They'll comfort themselves with lies just to avoid confronting the one fact they cannot stand. You didn't need a shortcut, you just didn't stop. They see your discipline and feel attacked. They see your peace and call it fake. They see your results and say it must be luck. But deep down, when the lights go out and the distractions fade, they sit with a question they'll never say out loud. If they could do it, what's my excuse? And that question haunts them, because your story exposes them. Your progress challenges their identity. Your wins strip away the layers of comfort they wrapped themselves in. You are their discomfort, not because you judge them, but because your existence eliminates every lie they've ever told themselves about what's possible. You became the wall they run into every time they try to justify giving up. Now imagine this, someone stuck in a cycle of blaming the world. They've made an entire personality out of being the victim. They've mastered the art of explaining why life didn't work out. Then they hear your name. They see your progress. They feel your presence. And something shifts. Not in admiration, but in frustration. Because you proved them wrong, without even trying to. That's why they whisper, that's why they downplay your grind, that's why they avoid congratulating you, because to admit you did, it means they have to admit they didn't even try. You became the spotlight that made their shadow stretch too far. And you know what? Let them talk. Let them twist the story. Let them frame your growth as arrogance or luck or some magical glitch in the system. Because the people who really get it, the ones who've bled, sacrificed and crawled through their own storms, they see you and they respect you because they know this wasn't luck, this was war, and you won. You weren't supposed to make it, not with the weight you carried, not with the people who turned their backs, not with the doors that stayed closed, but you did. You made a way through walls. You kept walking when there was no path. You became the example they never thought they'd have to compete with. And now, every time your name gets brought up, it triggers that guilt, that what if, that internal whisper saying, I could have done more. But they silence it with pride. They drown it in fake laughs. They protect themselves from your truth because your truth forces them to grow, and growing hurts when you've been sleeping for years. Here's the thing, chosen one, your journey isn't a weapon. But it's going to feel like one to people who stayed still while you built. You're not attacking anyone. You're not even flexing. You're just living proof that progress is possible, and that alone is threatening in a world full of talkers. Let them call you lucky. Let them pretend you skipped steps. Let them avoid the mirror you became. That's not your burden to carry. Your only job now is to keep going. Keep building, keep shining. Because every move you make is a funeral for another excuse. You don't have to prove anything to people who refuse to grow with you. You already proved everything by surviving what they thought would kill you. Every win is a chapter in the book they swore you'd never write. You're not just a success story, you're a warning. It could have been them too, if they didn't settle. Number 1. You became the blueprint they'll never be able to follow. You weren't made to be understood by them. You were made to be studied in silence, hated in secret, and admired by those who never say a word out loud. You didn't ask to be a manual, but you became one. A walking guide to a life they can't replicate, no matter how many times they watch, copy, or lurk in the shadows. You move different, not because you're trying to stand out, but because you stopped trying to fit in a long time ago. And that right there, that's the glitch in their system. They follow trends, you follow truth. They need attention to feel alive. You go silent and still radiate power. They rehearse their identity every day like a performance. You just are. That's why they stare, that's why they stalk, that's why they talk, because what you carry can't be faked, and that drives them insane. Your presence feels like a code they can't crack. They study your moves like an unsolvable riddle, try to mimic your style, your confidence, your peace, but it never lands the same. Why? Because what they're trying to imitate was born in isolation, built in pain, forged through pressure. Your glow didn't come from aesthetics, it came from alignment. Imagine this, a room full of people trying to follow a GPS, and you're over there navigating by instinct. They panic when there's no signal. You trust your gut. That's the difference. You are proof that power doesn't need a platform, that healing doesn't follow a straight path, that authenticity isn't loud, it's undeniable. And when people can't understand you, they label you. They call you weird, cold, mysterious, arrogant. But it's not arrogance. It's alignment. It's boundaries. It's silence that screams louder than their loudest opinions. You're not trying to impress them, and that's exactly why they obsess. You became what they secretly wish they had the courage to become, real. And real can't be taught, it has to be earned. So let them try, let them study, let them misinterpret. Your life isn't their language, and that's not your problem. Keep moving. They'll never decode you because they were never built to understand you. They were built to watch. You were built to lead. Number 1. Your presence exposes every lie they built their power on. They don't fear your rebellion. They fear that you never needed their system to begin with. You didn't come to play their game. You came to show that it was rigged from the start. You didn't come to win fake respect, rub shoulders with phonies, or smile for approval. You came to exist fully and unapologetically. And that alone made you the threat. Most of the world runs on invisible contracts, agreements nobody speaks out loud, but everyone follows. Don't call out the lies. Stay quiet about the manipulation. Reward the fake. Punish the real. And you broke every rule without even trying. You refused to pretend. You refused to participate in the performance, and that's why they can't stand you. You don't play politics. You don't fake laugh at bad behavior. You don't flatter people just to get ahead. You walk in with honesty, clarity, and energy that doesn't beg, doesn't bow, and doesn't bend. And when people can't manipulate you, they have one option left: demonize you. You became the villain in their story the second they realized they couldn't control yours. They'll say you're difficult, uncooperative, cold, problematic. Why? Because you saw through the nonsense. Because you didn't bow to titles, popularity, or social games. Your energy didn't just disrupt the system, it exposed how fragile the system really is. Imagine a stage full of actors performing like their lives depend on it, and suddenly you walk on without a script. You don't clap at the right time. You don't say the expected lines. You don't dance to their rhythm. The spotlight hits you, and suddenly everyone feels offbeat. That's what your energy does. It knocks people out of autopilot and forces them to feel what's real. Your authenticity is a glitch in their programming, a short circuit in their manipulation loop. You're not hard to work with. You're just not easy to fool, and that alone makes you powerful beyond measure. When you stop being predictable, you stop being controllable. So keep breaking their illusions. Keep walking with honesty. Let your presence keep exposing what their words try to hide. They can't run the game if you refuse to sit at the table, and that's why you'll always be the target and the truth. Number 1. They whistle because they've lost the map to you. You didn't make them irrelevant. You just stopped letting them pilot your life. They had a system: charm when needed, shame when necessary, pressure when convenient. You were the one they could push, prod, and puzzle until you moved where they wanted. Then something changed. You tightened your borders. You stopped explaining. You stopped giving them roads into your head. And suddenly their GPS failed. When control breaks, noise replaces it. Gossip is the fallback, cheap, loud, and cowardly. If they can't steer your choices, they'll try to steer the story about you. That's why they spin your calm into cold, your distance into drama, your self-respect into rudeness. It's not real. It's repair work for their wounded dominance. Imagine a puppet show where the strings are cut. The puppeteers stomp and shout to make the crowd look away from the silence. That stomp is their whisper. They make up movement to hide the truth. You're free. And that terrifies them more than any argument ever could. You might think, why don't they just leave me alone? Because control is an addiction. Some people need to own a version of you, even a fake one, to feel safe. If they can't own it, they attack it. If they can't break you, they build stories to make themselves feel like they did. Here's the hard fact. When you become unreachable, you become an accusation. Their whole identity, popular, indispensable, untouchable, starts to wobble. Your silence becomes evidence that their power was illusion. So they use language like a weapon, rumor, omission, exaggeration. It's desperate, it's sloppy, it's effective if you let it be. You won't fix this by arguing. You fix it by staying immovable. Keep your life as evidence. Let results and peace replace explanations. Every time you answer a lie, you hand them the weapon they wanted. Every time you stay quiet, you bankrupt their motive. Ask yourself, what do I owe the storytellers who traded my reality for comfort? The answer is nothing. You owe them no corrections, no tears, no performances. You owe yourself the quiet that cost you years to build. So let them whistle, let them stitch narratives out of fear. They're auditioning for control they lost. Your job is to keep walking, unbothered, unretold, unpurchased. Their noise is temporary. Your life isn't. Number 1. You look arrogant because they've never met someone this free. The calm you carry isn't arrogance, it's survival turned into self-mastery. Let's tell it like it is. Your silence scares people who live loud to feel seen. Your peace shakes people who constantly chase chaos to feel alive. Your stillness doesn't just confuse them, it offends them because you're not playing their game anymore. And to someone who's still performing, your refusal to perform feels like war. You used to explain yourself. You used to soften your truth, shrink your presence, blur your edges just to keep the peace. Now you are the peace. And because they never learned how to sit with themselves, they call you cold. They say you've changed. They say you think you're better. But the truth? You just stopped being accessible to dysfunction. You outgrew their addiction to attention. People addicted to noise will always think silence is arrogance. They can't understand your energy because it's not built on validation anymore. You're not waiting for approval. You're not checking who clapped. You're not calculating how to be accepted. You're just existing in full alignment, and that's power they've never touched. Imagine a river after a storm, still but deep. That's you. Calm but heavy with everything you've survived. Your peace is not passive, it's earned. It came through nights of being misunderstood, through seasons of holding your ground while everything tried to break you, through years of peeling off fake layers and learning how to breathe without permission. Now you sit in rooms without needing to fill the silence. You walk away without announcing your worth. You don't chase, you don't explain, you don't beg. And to those still performing, that looks like arrogance. But to the healed, that looks like freedom. So when they say you're distant, what they mean is they can't reach you with the old hooks anymore. When they say you've changed, what they mean is they can't predict you, control you, or guilt you like they used to. Let them misunderstand you. Let them call peace what they can't comprehend. You're not here to be palatable. You're here to be free. And freedom always makes the restless restless. Number 1. You rose without playing their game. Now they call it favor. They memorized every rule in the system. You broke them all and still passed them by. You didn't beg, you didn't compromise, you didn't lick boots, flatter egos, or sell out just to be accepted. You stood firm, you stayed in your lane, and still, somehow, you rose. That right there, that's what kills them. That's the wound they keep scratching. They spent years studying the algorithm of validation. They played the game, followed the rules, blended in, and you walked in untouched by all of it. Not louder, not flashier, just real. And because real can't be copied, they labeled it unfair. They can't understand how you made it without kissing the ring, so they call it luck to protect their pride. But this wasn't luck, this was alignment. You didn't fight for visibility, you became visible because you stopped hiding. You didn't chase recognition, you attracted it by staying in integrity when everyone else sold out for crumbs. Imagine two people in a maze. One keeps begging the guards to let them out. The other realizes the walls are fake and walks right through. You were the second one, and now the first is pissed because your exit wasn't earned by their standard. It exposed the lie of their effort. It proved the maze was never real. That's why they rewrite the story. That's not fair. They must have had help. They think they're better than us. No, you're just not bound like they are. And that truth, it unravels everything they've built their identity on. They don't understand that your elevation didn't come from trying to impress. It came from refusing to be pressed. You didn't scheme your way up. You were called into alignment with something bigger than applause. That's why they can't recreate it. Favor doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being real when it costs you everything. And here's the brutal part. They can't duplicate your path because their heart wouldn't survive it. You got here through heartbreak, betrayal, rejection, and long seasons of silence. You passed every test they didn't even see happening. You lost fake friends. You outgrew systems that never saw you. You healed in private and returned with power that can't be explained. So now they chalk it up to favor as if it was handed to you. But favor isn't given to the loudest or the most popular. It recognizes the truth that others bury. You didn't climb for the spotlight. You walked with purpose, and the light followed. Let them stay confused. You don't owe them clarity. You are the exception that proves the system was never the source. Number 1. You became the chapter. They skipped. Now they hate the ending. You lived the life they only dared to imagine, and that's a wound they'll never stop bleeding from. You didn't just survive what broke others, you built from it. You didn't just dream, you executed. You didn't wait for permission, applause, or backup. You just moved, and that movement became a story they can't stop reading. Not because they admire it, but because deep down they know it could have been their story too, if they had the guts. You are the unwritten chapter they were too scared to face. You made choices they avoided. You walked paths they talked themselves out of. You followed the calling they muted under comfort and fear. And now, every time they see you rise, a quiet voice in them whispers, "That could have been me." And that voice, that's what they try to shut up with gossip. They rewrite your story in their heads, not to understand it, but to survive it. They'll say you got lucky, that you changed, that you must have help, connections, advantages, because saying you just had courage feels too much like an insult to their cowardice. They need your journey to sound fake, so their fear still sounds smart. You are the page they never turned, the risk they never took, the truth they never spoke. They settled, and you soared. And now they're stuck justifying why they stayed small while you outgrew everything they were too afraid to outgrow. Imagine them sitting at the edge of their life story, pen in hand, but paralyzed by fear. You picked up the same pen and wrote without mercy. That's what they can't forgive. That's what they try to destroy with whispers. They see you as a threat because you're living proof their comfort was a cage. Let's be honest, your existence shatters their excuses. You're the mirror, the blueprint, the reality check. Every rumor they spread is an attempt to rewrite your boldness into recklessness, your courage into arrogance, your peace into pride. But deep down, they know you didn't take a shortcut. You took the stairs with broken ankles and still made it to the top. They can gossip all they want, they can try to stain your name, but they can't erase the fact that you did it, and they didn't. And that truth will haunt them far louder than your name ever will. Number 1, you broke the silence. They were all complicit in, now they want you gone. You didn't destroy the peace, they were just calling silence peace because it kept them comfortable. Let's call it what it is. You shattered the unspoken contract, the quiet agreement that says, don't speak, don't feel, don't question, just play along. You were never meant to break the pattern. You were supposed to inherit it, carry it, and pass it down like everyone else. But instead of pretending, you chose healing. And for that, they branded you the enemy. You didn't break anything sacred. You broke the illusion that pretending everything's fine is strength, the illusion that silence is peace, the illusion that suppressing truth is maturity. You stepped out of that fake unity, and the moment you did, they came for you. They don't hate your truth. They hate that you had the audacity to say it out loud. You stopped lying to yourself, and that alone was rebellion. You questioned toxic traditions, exposed emotional manipulation, set boundaries they were never ready to face. You healed publicly in a family, a community, or a circle that survives on pretending everything's okay. And the ones who benefited from that silence, they felt exposed, uncovered, seen. Now they call you dramatic, ungrateful, too sensitive. Not because what you said was wrong, but because what you said was true. And truth, when it's been buried for generations, feels violent to those still living in the lie. Imagine a room full of people with their hands over their ears, humming so they don't hear the screams underneath the surface. You walked in and said, "Let's talk about it." You didn't raise your voice, you just stopped pretending. And suddenly, everyone looked at you like you were the problem. They need you silent because your voice reveals their denial. They need you still because your movement highlights their stagnation. They need you small because your expansion proves they never had to stay stuck. You didn't just heal, you broke a cycle. And people who never tried to heal will always feel attacked by someone who did. So now they isolate you. They label you. They rewrite your motives, twist your words, make you the villain of their comfort zone. But that's only because you represent the path they never had the courage to walk. Let them cling to silence. Let them call your healing rebellion. Because the truth is, someone had to say it. Someone had to be the one to stop the bleeding. And that someone was you. They don't get to define you just because you were brave enough to break the curse. Number 1. You shine too bright for people who were taught to shrink. They don't hate your light, they hate that you stopped apologizing for having it. You don't dim anymore, not for comfort, not for approval, not for the sake of fake humility. You finally understood that shrinking yourself doesn't make you kind, it makes you disappear. And you weren't born to disappear, you were born to be seen. But in a world where people are taught that humility means hiding, your presence is offensive. You walk in with light, and they act like you're trying to steal the sun. You speak with clarity, and they say you're full of yourself. But you're not arrogant, you're aligned, you're not loud, you're liberated. They call it pride when they can't control your confidence anymore. They were raised to believe that being humble means playing small, staying quiet, never celebrating yourself too loudly. But you unlearned that. You stopped pretending you're less than what you are. You stopped making yourself digestible to people who choke on authenticity. And now they hate it. They confuse your self-awareness with ego, your boundaries with attitude, your boldness with sin. Not because you're wrong, but because they never gave themselves permission to be that free. Imagine this, a room full of people whispering about their dreams but never daring to chase them. Then you walk in, alive, unapologetic, doing what they only journal about. That's what they hate. You remind them of everything they gave up when they chose safety over growth. Your light exposes their shadows, and instead of facing them, they blame the brightness. You're not the problem, you're just visible, and for people who hide behind fake modesty, your visibility feels violent. They were told to blend in, and you were born to break molds. That contradiction will always make them uncomfortable. Let them stay small. Let them confuse hiding with humility. You know better now. You know that your voice matters. Your gifts matter. Your presence is necessary. You were never meant to dim for rooms that can't handle your wattage. So shine, without apology, without shrinkage, without guilt. You're not being prideful. You're just finally showing up the way you were designed to. Number 1, they can't accept you're still breathing, so they say you're faking it. They watched you take hits that would have buried them, and the fact that you're still here ruins their entire worldview. They were counting on your silence, your breakdown, your disappearance. They watched the betrayals hit you, the losses, the lies, the moments that should have ended you, and when you didn't collapse, when you didn't fold, when you got back up without bitterness, something inside them shattered. Because your survival isn't just surprising, it's offensive. To people who need to believe that life is rigged against the good ones, your resilience is blasphemy. They told themselves that strength is about dominance, not endurance, that peace comes from control, not surrender. Then you came along, with scars and stories, yes, but still standing, still focused, still glowing, and now they don't know what to believe anymore. You became the proof that life hits hard, but purpose hits harder. You were supposed to be proof that soft people break, that good hearts get eaten alive, but here you are, still rising, still moving, still carrying light like it didn't cost you blood to hold it. That's what messes with them. Because if you're real, if your peace is real, if your bounce back is real, then maybe the narrative they've used to justify their bitterness is a lie. That's why they say you're faking. You're not really healed. No one moves on that fast. They're just pretending. Because believing your healing is real would mean facing the fact that they chose to stay broken, that they chose to give up, that they surrendered to pain while you transformed through it. Imagine this. A building collapses and everyone assumes no one made it out. Then days later, one person walks out, burned, bruised, but alive. The world doesn't cheer. It questions. How? Why them? What trick did they use? That's you. You weren't supposed to survive this, and now that you did, they need an explanation that fits their fear. It must be fake. It's an act. They're delusional. Because if your strength is real, then their weakness was a choice. Let that sink in. They want to believe life breaks everyone equally, that no one heals for real, that no one climbs out of the pit without losing something sacred. But you did, and now your existence is a disruption, a threat, a reminder that pain doesn't have to win. You didn't fake peace, you earned it in the fire. You didn't fake growth, you bled for it. You didn't fake endurance, you carried heartbreak like a weight and built muscle with it. And now that you stand tall, they hate the reflection you force them to see, one where they could have kept going too, but didn't. You being okay makes their quitting feel louder. So let them talk. Let them deny what they're too broken to understand. They need the rumor to survive the regret. They need the narrative to silence the guilt. They'll never admit it, but every time they say your name, they're really just trying to convince themselves they made the right call by giving up. You're not their enemy. You're their interruption. You're living proof that life can hit with full force and still be survived. That integrity doesn't have to die in chaos. That good people do get back up, not because the world is fair, but because they choose not to break. And that kind of strength, it's rare, it's inconvenient, and it will always be misunderstood by people who surrendered before the battle even began. So walk proud. They're not mad you made it. They're mad you made it without them, without apology, without playing dirty, without losing your soul. They're not surprised you're still standing. They're devastated that they're not. Number 1, you're the proof that power doesn't ask for permission. You didn't play by their rules, and still you rose. That wasn't supposed to happen. They studied the system, memorized the scripts, followed every ritual, every tradition, every unspoken rule about how power is supposed to show up. And still, here you are, blessed, elevated, protected, without doing it their way, without kissing the ring, without fitting the mold, without becoming what they told you you had to be. You didn't climb through approval. You didn't ascend through performance. You got there by being real, and that alone wrecked everything they were told to believe. They thought power was political, then you showed them it's personal. You became a walking contradiction, a disruption, a riddle they can't decode, because the systems they worshipped, clout, hierarchy, image, control, didn't birth you. And yet you shine, yet you grow, yet you attract blessings that they thought were reserved only for those who earned them through performance. And that scares them, because if you can rise by just being aligned, if you can glow without playing their game, if you can be chosen without their stamp of approval, then it means the power they fearfully bow to isn't real. It means the throne they've been chasing is plastic. It means the universe doesn't care about popularity, politics, or fake humility. It cares about truth. You became favored without playing along, and that's what makes them furious. They call it arrogance, but it's alignment. They call it luck, but it's purpose. They call it rebellion, but it's authenticity. You are living proof that power chooses people, not because they fit the mold, but because they shatter it. Your presence reveals that the universe moves for those who move with truth. That grace lands on the ones who are willing to stand alone and walk through fire without applause. That blessings fall hardest on those who stay real, even when it costs them everything. Imagine them sitting in their perfect little boxes, following every step like a sacred checklist, and still feeling empty. Then they see you, raw, unfiltered, misunderstood, and favored. That makes them question everything. And instead of learning from you, they gossip to protect their comfort zone. Because to admit your power is real, they'd have to admit their performance was unnecessary. And that truth, it's too heavy for their ego to hold. Let them talk. Let them point fingers. Let them call you confusing, defiant, unqualified, because their rules never built you, and their rules can't stop you. You don't fit their categories. You redefine them, and that's why you'll always be the exception they can't explain, and the force they can't ignore.